whether you are good or bad, whether you are young or old, whatever your socioeconomic status, that human beings should not just be expendable, but rather should be prized.
Okay, Father Stan, if you can hear me, let's just conclude our conversation with some insight on what you think will happen to all the initiatives that this late Pope had taken to bring the Catholic Church closer to places where people felt distant from the Catholic Church, especially his initiatives in Africa. Do you think that when we have a new Pope, that there's a tendency that this new Pope will continue on some of those initiatives that Pope Francis had initiated?
I think so, because one of the most, I think, enduring legacies of Pope Francis was the extensive consultation of all the Catholic faithful throughout the world between 2021 and last year, 2024, the Synod on Synodality. And that Synod on Synodality produced a very important document. So we are in the process of implementing the decisions, not of Pope Francis, it is the decision of the whole church, that we need to be a welcoming church, a church where everyone's gifts and talents are embraced with the same generosity, kindness, and consideration, a church of co-responsibility, a church of solidarity, and a church of synodality. That is a listening church. So those decisions are already being implemented, and there are 10 study groups that Pope Francis set up to implement and deepen the understanding of some of the decisions made. And one of the last acts of Pope Francis, even from the hospital, was to sign off that these decisions and the process of implementing the synodal decisions should now begin. It was to start in May. My hope is that the next Pope, just like Cardinal Parolin, who presided over the Mass yesterday at the Vatican, the second day of Novena Masses for Pope Francis, said the momentum started by Pope Francis should be continued, because the only way we can honor the legacy of a prophet, that is someone who saw tomorrow, is not simply to praise him or to cry at his funeral or at his death, but to do what the disciples of Jesus did, to run even farther than the master, who worked only for 3 years, and his followers have been working for 2,000 years. So Pope Francis had made his own contribution to the church. We will take the good things from it. We will take the lessons from it, especially articulated in the synodal document. And then hopefully the new Pope already has, if you like, a vademecum that can serve as a good manifesto and a roadmap for the future of Catholicism and the world.
I understand. Thank you for your time. And I know how passionate you've been about the work you and your colleagues have done with the Pope, and I know how sad this period is for you. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that people like you will continue to write and then to look for that silent majority in the church.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And joining me now is the past District Rotaract representative, Alan Ntambi. Alan is in Nigeria for some Rotaract work. Alan, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
How was your trip?
My trip was fantastic. It's been a couple of learning and good experiences in Nigeria.
So why are you in Nigeria?
I am here in Nigeria. I came to attend, I was invited to attend the Nigerota, the National Rotaract Conference. Nigeria has 6 districts, Rotary districts. Actually, it's the only country with such number of districts in Africa. Mm-hmm. And I was interested to come and see what the young people are doing down here in Nigeria, but also share with them best practices on how best we can grow ourselves as young people while we transform our communities.
Well, Rotaract spans more than 180 countries and territories.
Yeah.
From your leadership experience, what do you believe unites young leaders globally, and what unites them even beyond the cultural, the political, and the social differences? What is that magic binding factor that holds young people together to serve?
Now, what brings us together is the common goal, the service to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we come together and we forget our religious affiliations. We forget our political affiliations.
Mm-hmm.
We forget our own needs, but look out to the greater good to build the communities that we live in. Because I want to say some of us, most of us young people that are in Rotaract are privileged to be where we are. But then what worries us is the communities we live in. If we do not sustain them, if we do not help them catch up, get closer to where we are, then we are equally in a danger. And it's what every other person out there needs to be looking out. Because yes, you will hide in your fence and you have the security at your gate. But what about when you walk out of your gate on the streets?
What happens to you?
What happens to you? Yes, you're looking good. You're taking care of your own children. You're taking them to good schools. That's perfect, thank you. But guess what? Your daughter, your son, is going to meet that other person, young person, who has not been brought up well, who has been brought up in a very hard life. And they are bringing you such a person as your daughter-in-law, as your son-in-law, not cultured, not given the opportunity you gave your children. Eventually, it is catching up with you. So
somehow it will rub off on you.
Definitely. Now, Rotaract gives us an opportunity to address that.
Okay, let me talk about you. You're a young person.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why you had to travel all the way, thousands of miles, doing Rotary and Rotaract work. What is inspiration? What drives you?
I have grown up as a young man. At a certain point, I have also been in need. I remember I was almost dropping out of school. My father is a retired army officer in Uganda. And then at one point, he could not pay for my school fees. But I'd associated with Rotary as an Interact. I know Rotary has several levels. The Interact Club for young people in high school, the Rotaract Club for young people, young professionals and tertiary institutions, then Rotary. So I'd associated with Rotary as a young person. Then I knew if I dare drop out of school, then I'll not have an opportunity. There will not be space for me in the Rotary fraternity. But getting the opportunity then to get better, then I thought I also need to help other people see things the way I see them, making them get better. For example, I was in Ghana last week. I am here in Nigeria, but also I have a job. I'm employed somewhere. So what inspires me is seeing other young people every day get better, other young people transforming themselves. And you know, we keep telling young people, our elders keep telling us that young people are the future of tomorrow's leaders, are the future's leaders. Maybe I should pose a question here. When is the future? And where is it? Because yesterday was, we addressed today as tomorrow, right? And then tomorrow, and then we can say tomorrow. And certainly we just have a few minutes to tomorrow, which will now become the today. So that's what inspires me. Telling the young people that, now, there's nothing like the future. It's not there. The future is now. And if we are the leaders of the future, that means we are the leaders of today. So let's start now to make the world we want to see.
That leads me to asking, are the young people ready to lead today and lead tomorrow? I mean, we see a lot of slacking on the part of young people. Drugs, cults, alcoholism, prostitution, and this, what some people have called generational selfishness. Are they really ready to lead today and lead tomorrow?
I would say readiness is relative. But also readiness is not a one-day thing. You need to have a starting point. Where is the starting point? And the starting point is now. It's now. Everywhere, wherever you are. It's now. There is never going to be a readiness or you being ready unless you start now. If you cannot speak to people, if you cannot stand in the crowd and say a word, we are saying start now. How do you say good morning or good evening to your parent? How do you say hi guys? How do you mobilize your friends to do something? And that's what inspires me. That's why I'm in Nigeria. Nigeria's GDP, last I checked, was at $358 billion. Where I come from, our GDP is just $48 billion in Uganda. But when I look at the Rotary and Rotaract in Uganda, I want to believe there is something my Nigerian friends and family can learn from Uganda. And that's why I came to touch base with them, telling them that, what, we can do this. And I'm telling them it's just a matter of looking at priorities. What are your life's priorities? What is it that you want to see? And after knowing what you want to see, or even what you want to know, then the how becomes easier. But when you know the what and understand why you need to do it, then answering the how becomes easy. Because you have now you know what you want to do. And then you're convicted by the why. If I don't do this, this is what will come. So that answers your why. So young people in drugs, yes, they are there. And maybe I want to go back to our leaders. And when I say our leaders, I go back to our parents. I go back to our leaders at where we work from. I go back to our teachers. The mentorship we get. The unfortunate bit of it is that many people has classified mentorship as me sitting in front of you and you speak to me. And I want us to have a different dimension looking at mentorship for young people. And this is my appeal to our elders. Please, let's look at mentorship differently now. What you want us to become, please do that. Let's just watch you do it.
Leading by example.
Lead by example. Please don't tell us to do it. You want us to dress well, decently, dress decently. You want us to be, not to be corrupt people, don't be corrupt. You don't want us to lie, don't lie, because certainly we know when you're lying. And that way, Africa will be secured.
Ntambi, is that not what they call buck passing? You know, I'm talking about the challenges that a lot of young people are having, and probably what people of your generation are doing to make that better. And you're pushing the buck to parents and the older ones.
I am actually not pushing it. The Africans,
because
where I come
the
from,
the implication of what you're saying is that we are not leading by example.
where I come from, we have a saying. We have a saying that the old bird teaches the young bird how to fly. Even I am a father. Most of the things I see my young daughter doing at home, I clearly see it is a replica of either my behavior or the mother's behavior. Because she learns firsthand by seeing, by observing.
Okay. How about those that are already caught in the web? Maybe some people around them have not led by example, have not said the right, put them on the right track, had not shown them the right way, and they are caught in the web. Let's talk about the kind of work Rotary will do in those directions.
And that's why some of us are here. That's why we have the 4,500 Rotaractors in Nigeria, in the 6 districts. And they are coming to the communities, to the fellow young people, to tell them that, look, I am here, I am your age, I am your age mate. I am not using the drugs and I'm surviving. I am comfortably okay. Okay? I don't have the much money that you think you should be having right now. But you know what? I wake up every day diligently and go to work. When I'm given work to do at my workplace, I am very responsible to deliver. That's what young people in Rotaract do. The first goal of Rotaract is develop professional and leadership skills. And the second one is to emphasize respect for the right of others and promote ethical standards. Now, these ethical standards are the examples we portray out to the young people. And I want to tell employers out there, if you want the right person to employ, look into Rotaract. You will be amazed.
That's what PR you're doing.
I mean, look into Rotaract. Be very deliberate. Into Rotaract.
Is it because of the kind of training
because
people
of the mentorship.
Ghana from...
Because of the training. And imagine they are doing these kind of works not paid. For example, I led Rotaract in my district as DRR. And one of the things I did most was public image, public relations, marketing the organization. So after my year as a district Rotaract representative, I was invited for a job at one of the universities in Uganda. The professor is a Rotarian, and he told me my university is struggling with public image. And I told him I have not done PR for an organization. He told me, I've seen you doing it and I know you will do it. Now, young people have skills that need to be put to use. And that's where young people in Rotaract, you see them going for medical camps. You see them using their skills, teaching. I attended a project in Ghana last week where I saw young people teaching the communities to make shoes, to make money. Where I saw young people teaching young girls how to make sanitary pads. I saw young people teaching the communities how to make liquid soap, empowering them economically. And then I see governments, I don't know in Nigeria, but back home, I see governments spend a lot of money on empowering communities with such skills, sometimes the money never goes where it's supposed to go. But then these young people are coming in. So our role as young people in Rotaract, and why I think every parent should consider having their children join Rotaract, is the change of mindset, the commitment to do work, being community aware. That's what Rotaract does.
Today's young people are really what we could call people of the digital age. And you know, the world is their forte. You know, they are globally minded.
Yeah.
And you see them very passionate about change. And I'm asking, how is your organization leveraging, you know, on technology, innovation, and collaboration to empower this new generation of young people? How are you doing that?
Now, at Rotaract Africa, when I came into office as president, I realized that we have some lot of untapped potential. We have over 19,000 young people in Rotaract Africa, in 47 African countries. And I was like, what do we use these numbers for? So that they are not just numbers. And then I realized we have so many young professionals. We have those in the tech world like me. I'm a data and software engineer.
Okay.
We have those in the teaching profession. We have those in the medical world, in the all the sectors of life. So, and I'm telling them, how can I be in Uganda and I impact someone in Liberia without going there? And that's where the digital world comes in. We are creating what we call, for example, the Rotaract Africa Leadership Academy. Free of charge.
Is it virtual?
Virtual. It's virtual. Then I reach out to experienced leaders like you. I tell you know what, you do not have to leave Nigeria. Can you give us an hour of a lecture online? And then I'll give you the audience. I'll put together 1,000 young people. You speak to them all over Africa. And you're offering your services to these young people, but you would have impacted the generation in Africa. Digital. We are asking them, come let's learn some skills. Okay? You have a Facebook page of 5,000 followers. Instead of posting a picture when you're at maybe a food hub somewhere, telling us how you're enjoying the chicken, why don't you ask Signaturetv to influence for Signaturetv? Tell them, you know what, I have 5,000 followers. I'd like to be posting Signaturetv's programs on my platform. And then you can get money, because trust me, Signaturetv has a budget for public relations. Even what it does most is still offer platforms for businesses to grow, for communities to grow. So you would have widened Signaturetv's reach. And that's what we are telling young people. Use these platforms. You have your Instagram. You have 10,000 followers. How are you making money out of it? And this is one of the programs now we are doing with the young people in Africa.
Okay. Looking ahead, what bold dreams and innovations do you envision for the Rotaract movement in the next maybe decade, especially as we lead this group in Africa?
Recently we had a discussion on our forum, having a strategy about Rotaract at 2030. We have over 45,000 Rotarians on the African continent. And then we have the 19,000 young people between the age of 18 to maybe 30 Rotaractors. And these are the future Rotarians. So our dream is to see these young people get into work, get into the job market as professionals, people of integrity, people of goodwill, people that are community aware. And what is this going to do? It's not just a solution for Rotaract. It's a solution for the African continent. You should be knowing about the 4-way tests. Of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? When I'm trying to do something, is it fair to other people, or is it only fair to me? Will it build goodwill? And if we ask young people, we're asking young people to lead their life reflecting on these principles, so that we can, it's not just about Rotaract, but have a continent, have communities that are not selfish. It's not just about them, but it's also about the others. That way we are building a community of people of integrity that are going to run our continent.
Alan Ntambi, that's a beautiful way to end our conversation. And I must thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
But before I let you go tonight, your presence here has reminded us that real leadership is born not from power, but from service and vision. Across every border, young leaders are building the future with courage, hope, and unity. As the world mourns the passing of His Holiness the Pope, and as the conclave prepares to choose the next spiritual guide, we are reminded that the call for compassionate, borderless leadership is greater than ever. May we rise to the challenge, and may hope continue to light our way forward. Let's keep believing in the power of service and the dream of our united world. I won't let you go until I leave you with this.
Oh. Thank you.
And that's our program for tonight. I'm Vin Martin Obiora Ilu from ENUGU in Nigeria. Thanking you for watching and asking you that we have to do this again tomorrow night at 11 p.m.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you. And thank you for supporting the young people. I'm informed and told of your great service.
Beautiful day to be alive. Welcome, everyone. It's a lovely Monday, the 20th. This is April 2025. I'm Charles. We are back after this short break to take you on a roll of the headlines on the dailies this morning. Let's get to it. Let's begin on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. On the Daily Trust, Kwankwaso's political future in limbo as defections rock NNPP. Gunmen kill 16 in Adamawa and Benue. Manufacturers battle for survival as energy costs rises. 15 months after, EFCC yet to release probe reports on EDU and Sadia experts flag delay. Plateau communities peak pieces after deadly attacks. Federal government call to action over WHO Gavi's alerts on disease resurgence. Weeks to come on entrance exams. FCT teachers strike lingers. All the details on the Daily Trust. Hunger worsens in IDP camps as UN agencies cut operations. That's all on the Daily Trust. We're moving now over to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. On the Tribune this morning, Nigeria targets single digits inflation, job creation amid global uncertainty, says Edun. I thought I heard this headline sometime under Buhari's regime. Well, here we are. Nasima, OPS worry over World Bank's 50% poverty projection for 2027. Offers short-term measures to reverse trend. Still in the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Tinubu's government making effort to dismantle democratic foundations. Odinkalu, Ojodu, Jinadu, 15 others warn, with the writer, warn against countries' march towards one-party states. We didn't fight to end military dictatorship, only to enthrone civilian authoritarianism, they say. Tinubu not building one-party states, presidency speaks. Fitch upgrades Lagos, Oyo, Kaduna, Kogi to stable. Sanwo-Olu promises more actions. IMF 37.0% inflation projection. LCCI expresses concern, says nation's economy vulnerable to external shocks. 50 billion naira earned allowance. We didn't rely on money released on paper, says ASU. Ayo Adebanjo, a courageous leader, advocates on United Nigeria. Abure, Rose Vival, NPF, others as Labour Party holds nights of tributes for late elder statesman. All the details on the Nigerian Tribune. And now over to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch this morning, defections. PDP calls emergency meeting to halt Hurricane Tinubu. With the writer, Nigeria not drifting to one-party states, says presidency. APC welcomes Obovoveri, others today. NDLEA seizes 1 billion naira drugs in 80-room hotel raid. Heritage Bank, NDIC begins 46.6 billion naira payout to top depositors. Ondo doctor, others face charges over abortion for 10-year-old victim. Fitch upgrades Lagos, Kaduna, two other states' investments rating. Federal government targets 70% local pharmaceutical production. U.S. report calls out Nigeria's trade barriers, ports, corruption. All of the details you can find on the Punch. And now over to the Daily Times. On the Daily Times, NDLEA raids Lagos Hotel, recovers 1.042 billion naira illicit drug consignment. 16-year-old boy nabbed with gun in Lagos. More IDP governors to join, apologies, more PDP governors to join APC. EFCC berates or reiterates warning to Nigerians on Ponzi schemes. All right, that's it on the Daily Times newspaper. And now to the Guardian. On the Guardian this morning, solar panel import ban may trigger 150% price surge, worsen energy cost crisis. Tompolo endorses Tinubu for second term, says Fubara will return. Presidency, civil society clash over Tinubu's alleged one-party state agenda. No cash above $10,000 must leave Nigeria without declaration, EFCC warns. Over 80 northern communities under ISWAP control, says group. Fulani headers get 48-hour ultimatum to leave Benue community. All the details you can find on The Guardian, still there. NLC cancels May Day celebrations in Rivers and Edo. Nigeria won't be great without Agric, says Afe Babalola. Don't don military attire. Army urges Nigerians. Don't don military attire. All the details you can find on the Guardian newspaper. And let's end it here. We have in studio with us Chris Maduka. Chris, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Charles. Good morning, numerous viewers from across the globe. Welcome to another day at Signature Television Newspaper Review. Happy to be here.
Indeed. So Tinubu is making efforts to dismantle democratic foundations. Odinkalu Ojudu, Janado 15 orders a warning. What's your take on this?
For 15 good citizens of Nigeria to notice that the democratic structures are being dismantled gradually, directly and indirectly, is a warning that we should not pretend we didn't hear. You know? And to look at the riders on that newspaper, the Tribune, they warn against country's march towards one party. And one party state, it's almost like what they call it, a dictatorship. And evidently that is what is playing out. I don't know whether the politicians notice that. There is, maybe this is part of our growing democracy, because there's nowhere we fathomed in our greatest imagination that someday everybody will be, going into one party. It's not, nobody could have imagined that. It's not like it's not you see, close your eyes and open and say one day everybody will be speaking with one voice in Nigeria. But this speaking in one voice has corruption and probably abuse of power at the center, and fear and palpitation for those who their hands are soiled, because you can't go into Nigerian politics without soiling your hands. So going into Nigerian politics is like soiling your hands, and somebody who also soiled his hand because he has higher power can use it against you. We have had the issue of EFCC being set against political opposition. EFCC have not come out to defend that and told us how they do the operations. And some politicians, whether rightly or wrongly, have openly accused that they are being hunted because they are in opposition. And a very powerful former chairman, party chairman, national chairman of APC, told us that if you join APC, your sins are forgiven. It was like a joke. But we have seen people who have some elements of allegations against them, either financial or otherwise, and they joined PDP, and those things disappeared. So, whether they right or wrongly, everybody want to go into where your sins are forgiven. I mean, everyone is afraid of hell, going to hell even after sinning. I live in this life, and I know I have some element of sin following me. I'm asking for grace of God. So if somebody come and said, join me and your sins are forgiven, I can also decide to join 90 million flies if that will make my sins to forgiven. But the funny thing is that the 90 million flies, what did they eat? Where they go? And they're asking for people to join them. That is also the irony. So it's something that we see working out, and the sooner we won, and if nobody sees it coming out, just close your eyes, imagine. In Nigeria, where we have all the 36 states and Abuja, that is 37 as it were, all in one party.
But devastating, really.
So just imagine it. How many left to go? Every day we look like joke. Delta is down. How many to go?
Well, the report, what we're seeing is that we had rumors of ENUGU, Rivers. Rivers is understandable because, he has to play the politics in order to save his seat. Then we heard about ENUGU, and then we heard about Akwa Ibom. These are the four for now.
We're expecting that in 2027 we have the presidential election. And in 2025, precisely in April, we were losing a great number of people to the ruling party. If what is happening in the recent past continue in the recent future, the warning of Odekalo and Ojudu and Jinadus and all will have come to pass. We see Nigerians will always close our eyes and walk into a difficult situation and expecting that somebody will come and help and save us.
I thought politics is mostly local, because local in the sense that you must have to, tinker with the minds of people who would vote for you directly. Why is the political parties, especially the governors who are planning to, defect, why are they not speaking to the people? Because it's for the people that would vote. The president will not leave his seat at the federal and come and vote for you in the state, because what we're getting, the information we're getting is that Delta State people are not with Obovawere for defecting to APC.
We see that work is in a system, ideal system. The people should be listened to, consulted. I've said it several times.
Yeah.
In Nigerian systems, how many of the politicians jumping ship got to those positions with people's vote? Let us be very frank. We have a very faulty system in our electoral structure. It's not only me that has said it. It played out 95% in 2023.
But it's not Tinubu that also gave him...
No, nobody is calling Tinubu in this case. Nigerians, I'm talking about Nigeria. Tinubu is a Nigerian. And the Nigerians in 2023 got the president they deserve. I have always said, every clan, every tribe, every group of people, every era, period, will decide what they want to do. Nigeria in 2023 got the kind of president they want, who is a Nigerian in Nigeria, breathing Nigerian air, Nigerian happening to know their president and the governed and the governors. So we have taken what we are reaping, what we sow. Whenever we get tired that we have sowed maize and we are reaping maize, we go and sow wheat or decide to change. So the power of how this Nigeria runs still runs in our hand. If for whatever reason some people have made it sure that poverty has been weaponized, everybody is looking for a stomach structure instead of this national infrastructure, then we take it that way, chop and die. We go and chop food and die, chop and die. And that's what happened. Imagine the number of people who have died of hunger after 2023. Some of them collected 2,000 naira. Some of them collected gari wrapped in plastics and the street of Lagos. Are they still taking that? I'm sure most of them would have died. And then, but this is a system that allows one individual to get so corrupt that he can buy over no nation. If you have, I'm a Nigerian, this system allows me to amass as much as trillions. Am I not talking about naira? I'm not so unpatriotic, but naira. I'm talking about hard currency, trillions, and I'm moving it around this country. There's nothing I cannot buy, Charles. This one we blame people, blame the umpires, blame judges, blame everybody in this world has a price. I'm sorry to say. So if this nation allows one individual to become so powerful and got so much money, unregulated, he can buy off anything. Imagine yourself, I've used this story once. You are the Chief Judge, Attorney General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and somebody said, I want you to compromise this case, I'll give you 100 billion naira. What do we say? He has offered you a bribe, you cannot refuse. If you refuse, you die. If your children do not kill you, your village people will kill you. Because that money can, there's a word in the Bible that says the prayer of a saint availeth much. That money can avail much in Nigeria. So the system that allows one individual to have that money, when you talk, I buy you over. If you talk, I buy you over. And we see it playing now. We have bullion van politicians in this country, and they're spending their money. Of course, they made the money. You allow them to make the money, so you can't say decide the morality of what happened. I mean, who are you to But the system first allowed them. Some of them in this country cannot make such money, though the countries where they go to invest.
Absolutely.
Even in those places. That's why some corrupt politicians, even across those places, we think they're so holy. When their money gets to a certain point, they bring it to Africa in form of charity, register charity, and bring it here and turn it over and take it back. Because there isn't any foundation, they say they're coming to Africa to pursue, to fight malaria. They will send their own people to come and manage it and take back the fund. So they are laundering money in these international aids and charity they do. Because they can't spend it abroad there. If it is there, that system will tax whatever they put in the bank 500%. So they find out there's no need making the money. So the only thing they will do is to register charities. People who do not know it will think they are coming to help you. Nobody helps nobody. They are just laundering their money into charity. But even Nigeria here, without registering even one single village charity, you can't even do nothing. You can have that kind of money in Nigerian bank. Let the politicians put their money from Nigerian banks and see how Nigerian bank will crumble. Because they are going to smiling and declaring large profit and dividends where their people are dying. Where did the money come in? Is the money politicians in Nigeria are laundering around the banks? This system is faulty. That allows one individual to get so corrupt that he can buy anybody over. So you are waiting for your own turn. I'm not putting our dear president of Milo. So if you make that kind of money, the system allows you, and you can declare it's your turn. And when it's your turn, you dispose things. You decide what goes to where. Do you understand? So that's about it. That's about it. So much. You know.
Yeah, well, PDP calls emergency meeting to halt Hurricane Tinubu.
Let these people stand on. Let the PDP stop. There's no Hurricane Katrina. There's no Hurricane Tinubu. There's no hurricane. What they should be fighting is the internal hurricane. PDP hurricane is hunting PDP. So let it not. Why blaming another man? These people, when they had ordinary wind blowing around them, they went partying, smiling and going to court. The thing developed into what we call the wild wind. That was at that time the PDP was at holidays. The thing got to tornado level. They now started giving a baptismal name. For as far as I'm concerned, our dear president, Tinubu, in that regard, I know so many things we expect him to do. Tinubu, what they call it, tornado, or whatever they call it, Katrina, whatever they want, has nothing to do. This is a manner of the way PDP made their math. They are lying perfectly on it, and they are comfortable. And this one is the crocodile tears. None of them there. Let them prove us. None of them in PDP are sincere with their union. They are strange bedfellows. All of them have hand in somewhere. And like I told you, if you have somebody, you have a bird who is usually will fly from heaven and pitch on the ground. And suddenly what that bird is carrying on his neck, the necklace the bird is wearing, just you find the bird perpetually must walking around the ground like chicken. Where will he? The guy will perpetually live on the earth. So PDP is on the cross of self-destruction, and somebody is come to help them. Who are they blaming? They say, what are they stopping? He didn't stop water when it was at your knee. Now it's at your neck.
But what can they really do?
You ask me? Mm-hmm. They already plan what they want to do. They plan to fail, so they will fail. They will say, let me tell them. That's why you're putting words in my mouth. Somebody didn't plan to succeed. What do we do? He will fail. These are core politicians who are almost pioneering all the parties. Who is in any party in Nigeria that didn't come from PDP? You're asking me what they do? They know what they do, but they didn't want to do it. They know what to do. All these ones, they're not talking so that they will look like they're talking. Because I know federal government gives them money.
Give PDP money?
Parties. They get money from parties. Don't you know?
I don't know that.
Parties get money. They get as much as 50 million from government. I don't know whether it stopped. That was why you had the avalanche of parties when we have over 52 parties registered in Nigeria.
Like, is it statutory?
It's statutory because they have to run. You cannot, because you are sitting government and allow them. When will they, the Nigeria, They have to run their offices, and so some parties who have 2-man membership get 50 million. They go to holidays until another election time. But I think it's always coming once during election. There's a way they do it. But parties in Nigeria get money from federal government. So the sooner they find a way of what to do with it. But they shouldn't. There's no Tornado Tinubu or anything. They should leave the man alone. They cause their own wahala as far as I'm concerned. I sat on this seat crying. NDLA raided a Lagos hotel, that's Daily Times, and recovers 1.042 billion naira worth of illicit drugs consignment. You know, most of the times you get this kind of news. From now, that's it. You will not hear it again. Are you following?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Well, how many times have we had this kind of news? And you guys are journalists. Sometimes you follow up. From the story of NDLA, it's not started today. They make big hauls like this. Where did the money go? Where did this drug go? What happens to what they recovered? Where is it paid in? Who is in control? Because let it not be that some Nigerians are running from fire to frying pan. Let it not be what I'm thinking of round robin. Let it not be, because it's Nigerians with the NDLA, Nigerians operated by Nigerians, who Nigerians are happen and running their blood doing this against Nigerians who are illicit drug addicts, who are drug barons, and all in Nigeria that actually allow this kind of haul to manage here and go. And that is one day. So once in a while you hear NDLA in the news making such hauls. Nobody has followed up to say what happens later. Obi has gone to army. Where is the boot? That's what we're waiting for. Because the last duty of a man is not this fight and die. It's to live and tell the story. Let us hear the story. Yeah. And that's about that time. Let's look at the last one we take and then we'll call it quits.
Okay, that's because of
the solar panel import may trigger 150% price surge, worsen energy cost crisis.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was because of time, we didn't talk about that. We had that the presidency is installing solar panel
In different institutions.
in Aso Rock.
Yes, there's one for us, but there's also one for across institutions.
So once the federal government install
10 billion naira
solar,
worth of
yeah,
solar.
10 billion. They invest 10 billion in solar, and then you and me will remain on national grid, and then there will be no power failure again in Nigeria. When the leaders, it was what one analysis somebody was making. He said, you go to pay for your bills in NEPA office that they're using generator. So the irony of Nigeria is so incredible. I can only say, Charles, God bless Nigeria. When I get my own money, I install my own solar.
Anyways, thank you, Chris Maduka, for your insights on the program this morning. Truly appreciate it. So we're back after this. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signaturetv every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Welcome back. So, women's rights and gender equality has always been a topical issue, especially as it concerns Nigeria. In the African continent, it's difficult to find a country, except maybe just recently, in Rwanda, do above 60% of women in politics, especially in parliamentary seats. But across Nigeria and other countries, it's always been a problem. I mean, it's either women are shouting for it or asking for it, begging for it. Some will say, look, in politics, you don't beg for it, you grab it. But even though they are more in numbers, you wonder why they never get to power. Look at the Senate. The Senate is just 4 women, and the House of Reps, well, maybe you could say less than 20. But they haven't been really represented more in that space. So what is the problem? We'll talk about that elaborately with Ambassador Onyi Mama. She's a women rights and gender promoter. Good to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
My pleasure. Why has it become difficult in Nigeria for women to advance to that stage of leading, especially in the political space?
All right. The issue of women, it's one big issue, and I wonder when we're going to reduce the number of topics that culminate with the factor of women politically and marginalization and all of that. So I could tell you that we are culturally entrenched to follow a pattern that views women as second. So there's a subconscious relegation of women, and then there's a conscious relegation of women, and that's the patterning. So values over time has been inundated to allow women to play out from the second position. And so most of the times we curve these things, we push these things deliberately and indeliberately. For example, the family unit, it's one major unit of socialization. But the family subconsciously allows the female to grow with the sense that stronger things should go for the male, and the less painful or less stronger things should be pertaining to the women. And so naturally, the boy is told, carry jerry can, you're a man. So the word man, man keeps ringing. And then the woman is told, wash plates, prepare the houses, do the couches, and all of that. So subconsciously we entrench stereotypes. And it begins to form a perspective that trickles down to the society and never allows the women to blossom out. And so some of these factors is consigning culture, values we entrenched over centuries, transgenerational. It's connected to religion. The religion itself almost synchronizes its pattern with culture. So the political circle over time, you know, I keep saying it, over time has allowed the men to own the terrain. For example, how many political parties has a woman as the chairman of the political party? And you know, the large box of decision emanates from the political circle, right? So if the deciding factors or the deciding personnel are not women, how do they find a space to push themselves into priority areas? So these are the things, all right? So I think the war will be won when women start moving out from the cubicle called women leaders. They relegate you and they give you positions on number 5, number 6, and you are the loudest cheerleader in a political group where your voice doesn't really matter but your noise. So if women will start thinking around being leaders of the political parties first, in a less sense you could bring in other women and then make a more prominent noise, because noise varies, right? Yeah, there's an important noise, and then there's a noise that keeps you only at the level of being a cheerleader. And that's where we remain. So if we look at culture, religion, dominance of the political parties and political circle, and then you talk about money. I always share this story on so many platforms. 2022, I formed a group, Women Support Women. And we had about 100 and something women converge. And they said, we've procured our tickets for the primaries. We're aspiring to be candidates of. By the time the primaries were done, we had just about 9 women remaining. And by the time the first section, we had just 2 women in the whole of 113 that I recall, that I spoke with or saw or interfaced with. Just 2 are in the State House of Assembly. And you could imagine the level of reduction. So what I saw in that space, that even when I interfaced with women groups and women leaders, and I told them, see this person, she's coming out, they asked me one key question. I hope she has something for us. And brother, believe me, if you don't have something for them, they will leave you and sing for the brother who is about to fleece the money. So money is still a large component for women's participation and inclusion. So 2
key issues you've raised, really, traditionally from the family, and then of course talking about what happens in a political space. Let's speak to issues that relates to the family first, like you have raised. Traditionally, we have people, parents do things that favors the boy child over the girl child. How do you think that relates or equates, or in comparison with what happens abroad, where you have the girl child and the boy child in the same house? Do you think that it trained them the same way that they do or they don't do in Africa?
All right, so I think one of the key learnings from westernization, it's human rights. Over time, I've come to realize that humans are treated like humans. They are not treated like their gender. I mean, even priority case is given to women. You have a problem with a woman, you leave the house for her.
Abroad?
Yes. But here, even your relatives, your friends, your husband's people will be introducing your husband into throwing you out of the house. You are the woman that leaves, even if the man is at fault. You are the person that comes to apologize to the man, even if you find him cheating. You shouldn't have raised your voice. After all, polygamy is connected to a man. So there are too many things we adopted from the whites that we don't want to inculcate. Westernization is purely connected to human rights, but we don't practice human rights here. We're gender segregative up till this 21st century. So it's one of the key things, because I've had a lot of projects and interface with the whites. I discover these people first visualize people as humans and their rights. But in African climb, what's so particular about Onyabuwai? It's one phrase you will not find missing in any discussion. If we go deep into a discussion now, you will hear Okwanawani Rapia. It's relegated. It's one of the things that find us where we are.
Where did that come from, though? Is it from the tradition, from
so
culture?
I said subconsciously culture entrenched it, because we grew with the value and the norm that a woman should not really be so hard. After all, she shouldn't be hard anyway. She should be seen. A woman should be inside, taking care of the home, the children, catering for the needs of the home, and then the man should be the wild dog, the lion, facing. Or recently you see women doing the wild things, capturing the fronts, taking care of their families, and they're still expected to be submissive to a man who doesn't even understand his rules. So some of these things were culturally calculated into our softwares to behave as if, yes, of course, we are second. You know, I tell people there's a big difference between looking for a submission and finding subjugation. A wife will bask in the euphoria of submission if the natural things happen. But she will wallow in subjugation if you keep wearing it out on her. I got married to you, I paid your dowry. You know, some of these things has a way of bringing someone to a point. You know, I paid your dowry, I married you, so you procured one of your furnitures. That's, you know, these are some of the definitions it gives to women. So even when they are not voicing it, they are not saying it, they have this patterning. They have a value to believe that yes, I was bought, I was handed over. So there's a relegation there.
So the other aspect would be, you know, even in political parties where you have women that are more, you still see them unable to ascend. You know, some people would say that there's this thing about women hating on each other. I mean, if it's not me, it can be another woman. This thing that exists amongst women that makes it difficult, that even if you have 10 people in one place with 8 being women, they'll rather actually pinpoint to 2 guys to be the head of that team than any of them. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so I think the relationship of men and women, nature is taking a due course. We naturally find ourselves working better when it's man and woman. And then when it's woman and woman, there's this friction for the ones who foundationally have competitive spirits and not self-aware. I tell people everywhere, a self-aware woman will never compete with another woman. You will never slander her, you will never fight her. But when the fight creeps in gradually, there's this thing in women to naturally try to prove to you that you cannot do anything. Even when she cannot do nothing, she wants to prove. So I have noticed that friction. I've dealt with women, I have women group. I will automatically submit to you that I've seen a whole lot of scenario play out. Women have so many frictions, and that friction is because just a minute number of women are self-aware. So I've seen the guys hate on each other really hate on each other, banter, but they sit over it and they let it go because the guys have less things to compete about.
So where did that friction come from? How do you deal with that kind of friction? Because it is when you are able to deal with that you can now start saying, okay, we're high in number, we can vote this person to be our leader, to lead the political party. Because it's also part of the problems that some political parties face. It's not like they don't have women to lead, but women themselves in that political party are not able to even vote them to be in positions.
So aside from money, women look out for things men hardly notice. If I drive into a political party, the women will look at my vehicle. They will look at, is she wearing gold? They should come with a designer, Google, and so many things we observe that the men are less interested in. So by the time you begin to equate, is she bigger? Am I richer? Is she wearing a hair? Am I wearing a thread? And all of that.
Why does that matter for a woman?
I don't know. These frictions, they come with women because we keep looking. And you know, women is connected to beauty and aesthetics. So by the time you start equating, if you're not self-aware, there's a tendency for you to blow up with either competition or jealousy. And so because they have issues of always wanting to measure up each other, that's why the hatred people keep shouting about come from. Naturally, why are you angry with another woman? What did she do? She did nothing. It's just that you're measuring up. Who is bigger? Who is finer? Who is wearing hair? Who is wearing designer? Who is on gold? I've dealt with those people for 50 years. So I'm telling you from the place of less argument and reality. But I've also found deep-rooted women lovers like me. That's practically what I've been doing all the years of my interventions. Trying to let women see from the mirror of working for themselves, loving each other, and understanding that we have the critical mass to beat the show. Because the show is always on. We just need to be together to hit that show up. And the men, they understand these metrics. They understand this calculation. And so every time they capitalize on the tiny weaknesses that they find that come out from these women and use it to win. Imagine if a man is coming to a self-aware woman like me and you're telling me, see that woman, don't vote for her. Unless she's not credible and competent. And for me, if you're not credible and competent as a woman and you come to me and I have a level of communication with you, I will automatically tell you to go and build up your CV and see if you can. I will not push you because you have money, because you need a lot of loads, capacity field level loads to face politics. There's a lot of metrics in politics that you need to understand, not just coming from the place of having money, but because a lot of things will be involved. So that we're saying women inclusion, women participation, doesn't mean I'm looking for empty people. I'm looking for very credible, competent women. I can support you at any level, but maybe not always political. For me, if you will come out to face politics, you have to be loaded. You have to have money, and you have to have the brilliance to face the wolves. I've never seen a circle that is more contaminated with political people called wolves than politics. There's too much metrics and I can't even meddle with it.
Is that not the reason why women are running away from politics?
That's
because
not.
Because
for the first time in 2022, I told you, 85% increase occurred. Lots of women came out and they said, okay, we're picking from various parties. But eventually, I mean, with the number they came out is with the number they went back. And so beyond that, the step was convincing for me because we've never seen it in the history of ENUGU and even Nigeria. I don't know how it happened. Lots of women came out, but very poor number of women succeeded, especially in ENUGU. Went from 4 to 2. So, but you know, this time around, if I'm to advise, there are Very reasonable things I will share with people who are interested in coming out in politics, because the game doesn't start in the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I had very serious conversation with stakeholders who have been in the game, and they taught me the maths. They said people don't start canvassing to win in the year when they are out. You start canvassing 2 years earlier.
True.
So.
Yeah. There's this thought about politics in Africa as being a very dirty game. Many of these politicians and politics are actually played in the wee hours of the day, and it's not really a good time for a woman coming at that time. In fact, in this part of the world, when a woman is in politics, there's this eye that's, is looking at you already as being someone who is dirty, because politics is dirty. How do you think a woman can navigate that system? I mean, you have mentioned just here that you have to be really strong and be ready to face the wolves. And you've practically described politics as maybe a Wolverine, department. So how does a woman navigate these things and still keep her dignity in the eyes of the society?
All right, so don't let people identify you, because the people are certainly going to talk from what they perceive as who you are. But I also think that we should stop fearing for women treading in the night. They are humans, and humans go in the night. Everyone should be security conscious, including the man. The man should be threatened about, night marauders, armed robbers, kidnappers. So also the woman. If the political party certainly and definitely puts up a meeting for the wee hours of the day, let the woman come as a human being and not as a woman. Because I first see humans before I see gender. Nothing differentiates our capacities except from our biological makeup. And then I've seen some women beat through the wild times and conquer. So if there are women who have really conquered, there will certainly be more numbers coming to conquer.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. The reason I say that is because, you tell a woman to come around 12 midnight for a meeting, and then the meeting is practically finishing at 3, and she has to be up again to, fend for the kids in the morning going to school. And then you wonder, what husband would accept that kind of woman to be their wives?
All right, so, politics is not all year. It's for a certain period, right? So the husbands that understand the political attitude of their wives should be able to cushion the moment. Understand that from now till the primaries or the main election, she has to go wild. Wild not because she's sleeping around, but wild because too many unprecedented movements will certainly come up. I'm an advocate of a man that will even carry the wife to the place, probably get its support staff at home for the kids. It's just for a moment. We don't do election and politics every year. It's for a certain time, every 4 years. So within the moment, this can be cushioned, can be managed. I don't want us to keep, allowing too many factors to mitigate against the woman's participation. No, these things can be managed.
It comes down to the man allowing. It's a permission. He has to allow that to happen. If he doesn't accept it, then it comes down to friction.
Yeah.
So how important do you think men would be in advocacy for women in politics?
All right, so we have a lot of he for she's. These men are women promoters, women lovers. These men have women that are politically sound, making waves in politics. They are still married, they are happy, and there's not anybody coming to advocate for peace in their homes. So why we talk about this, we try to project positive masculinity. Yes, you're a man. You can decide you don't want a wife to move. But what if her not moving is imprisoning the talents that I have, or the skills she has to use to make her name and ends meet. So we should also think about it. while trying to play out male chauvinism, authoritative husband, also think about the fact that this woman has some potentials embedded in her that you can keep at a place and it will die off. So sometimes I think it's about agreeing and knowing the kind of man you're married to. A man who is insecure will automatically cause a lot of political chaos at home.
True.
Yeah, because he will misinterpret the night, misinterpret the men that call you at wee hours, misinterpret the laughter you're giving to another man. So a man with a high level of, you know, sexual insecurity or all of that may not promote a politician at home. Yes.
And that you think is a big factor?
It's a very huge one. But again, who are the husbands of those women that came out in 2022? So I think it's about us beginning to learn, unlearn, and then relearn some of the things that held us tight to the ground and didn't let us move. If you're sure of the woman you have, it's just like my husband seeing me in the midst of 1,000 men and you tell me he will be worried. He will go to sleep like 1,000,000 times. Yes. So because you need to be sure of who you're married to. You need to be sure of who you're married to. That also leads us to decision and, you know, selection. Be careful about who you're married to. Don't marry someone who doesn't really understand their track. They suddenly tell you they're interested in politics and you're wondering why. Meanwhile, she has never done well in her little space. Now she wants to delve into politics. So it's suspicious.
Right. Let's talk about the role of the religious institution. How much of that do you think that the religious institution in Africa is playing to, you know, foster this equality between genders?
Yeah. Do you know religion is part of the reason why there's poor participation of women in politics?
Really?
Yes. Religion, it's an opium, it's a guide, it's a lord, it's an invisible lord that patterns Christians or even its worshippers to a certain place. And so in the scare of women coming out to participate with people who can ask you for anything, a lot of people are scared of going to politics. Do you know that the latest and the best grade of our people will never come out to participate in politics because of the name politics has been given, and that's because of religion. A lot of religious people will tell you, I respect you a lot. If I see in politics, I will lose my respect for you. That's religion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because politics has been tagged. And who is telling you that the person coming to the new front is not going to bring the new change? They don't believe you're bringing a change in Nigeria. So if religion has a little shift from the perspective it has spread over years and time, is also going to help us. If the church comes to say, we are picking you when you come, do you know what it means? If the Catholic Church comes to say, we are picking on you, or the Anglican Church is saying, we are picking on you, do you know the numbers? And once the people say, it's our bishop, or it's our cardinal, or it's our archbishop, do you know what it means? It means winning. So the religious body, it's a critical body for good politics to happen. That's why they need to rethink.
But you wonder whether is not the same doctrine that they preach outside the shores of the country, or actually the shores of Africa, that they preach in Africa. I mean, why is it different doctrine over there? That is, you said it's a major issue. Why is it not an issue abroad?
Mindset, perspective. That's why I said we need to have a shift. In abroad, everything they do is first visualizing people as human before gender.
Even before religion?
Yes, and that's why they have allowed a lot of genders. Because they are not really concerned about what you want to be. If you want to be a cat, if you want
as long as you're competent enough,
just be a human being. So they have a central word. That's humanity, humans. That's why their human rights is capitalized. It's really entrenched. But for us in Africa, we're still looking at man, woman, woman's. Do you know, my husband lived in Copenhagen for over 15 years. And he told me the white man is not interested in who he's seeing. He's interested in what you're bringing to the table, no matter your age, your physiological makeup, or whoever, whatever your gender wants to be. And that has really helped that part of the world. But believe me, you come into some places and they look at you, they say, nothing mother, woman, you know, young woman, old woman, components that limit us. You don't even know what the breastfeeding mother is bringing to the table.
All right. Ambassador Onyi Mama, I'll just leave it here for now. I mean, it's a continuous discussion that relates to women's rights and gender, basically, especially in Africa. It's a tortuous topic, but it's something that would actually just expand further, maybe a little later. Many thanks for your time, which we really appreciate.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. We're back after this. To stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Welcome back. This is Signature Morning on Signature TV. And we're switching gears right now to speak on security. Everyone is now talking about security in Nigeria. I mean, it's almost seems as if it's a resurgent circle. When everything is calm, everyone is quiet. And when there's an attack, then everyone starts talking about, oh, state police. We are supposed to have done state police. This thing has been on raging since, 1999 is just, you know, some few years back, but it's been on for decades. What is going on with our security architecture? Every single government has faced this security situation. Is it really sponsored? Is it something that we should start looking internally to solve from within? Or basically, is it something that we should just speak about on the pages of newspaper, and then when there is an improvement in security, everybody goes back home? Nick Agule joins us. He'll be speaking to us on effectiveness of internal security architecture in Nigeria. Good to have you. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Nick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, and good morning to our viewers globally.
Thank you so much, Nick. I mean, this discussion around state police is, I don't want to say overflowed, because if you say overflowed, it will look as if there has been some implementation in that regard. But apparently, I think we have a bit of an issue with the connection with Nick. We would get back to him shortly. But again, I just wanted to mention something, that every time we speak about issues regarding state police, there's always something that comes up and, you know, throws the spanner on the wheels of the movement of the car. I mean, can somebody just tell me, hasn't there been every single time we've seen, from Obasanjo to Yaradua to Goodluck Jonathan, you know, to Buhari, every single government has mentioned something around the thoughts on state police. But ever since then, there hasn't been anything, no finger lifted on state police. Why? Most people say, oh, well, because we are a country, you know, of divisions, or a country or a group of persons who feel that giving some powers to the state government will make us even divide further, because of our history, a history of the 1967 to 1970 civil war. Well, some governors can decide to secede using that apparatus. Several things just come up as an issue with state police. Nick, thank you for rejoining us. Thank you so much this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, speaking of security architecture, I really don't know how to place it. When you speak of the effectiveness of security architecture within our nation, everyone speak about the police architecture, we speak about the NSCDC, we speak about the Nigerian Army. We have all of these security architecture, around. Why has it become very difficult to stem the tide of insecurity in the country? The painful part is not even when the attack happens, but it's even afterwards. We are unable to apprehend those who attack us and move into the bushes. Why has it become difficult for us to solve these problems?
Thank you very much for that question. I think this is a question which the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria needs to answer. This is a question on the lips of every Nigerian, because we have a security architecture in place. There are the armed forces that are organized in 3 services: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. And these 3 services have their service chiefs and commanders down the line to the last man. These 3 services are coordinated by the Chief of Defense Staff. Then, aside from the armed forces, we have the police and paramilitary security architecture, which includes the Nigerian Police Force, deployed in all the 36 states in Nigeria and the FCT. We have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Aside from them, we have other arms-bearing paramilitary institutions, which include the Nigerian Customs, the Nigerian Immigration, the NDLEA, the EFCC. Then, so all these ones I have mentioned also bear arms. Then we have the intelligence community, where you have the DSS, the Department of State Services, then the Nigerian Intelligence Agency, the Military Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency. And there is also intelligence in each of the other armed services. So the Army has got their intelligence, the Navy, the Air Force, the police, they all also have their intelligence agencies. And all these intelligence agencies are also arms bearing. Then this architecture is supported by a budget. For a long time now, dating back to several presidents that we have had, which you listed, the defense architecture is always given the highest budget allocation. And that is the case even for the 2025 budget. There is nowhere in Nigeria you will go that you are not going to see this defense architecture in operation. The military, for instance, even though their role is to defend the territorial boundaries of Nigeria, they have been deployed in almost all the states of Nigeria today, as well as the other agencies. You will see them on the roads. I don't think there is any road in Nigeria as we speak today that you will travel for 2 kilometers without encountering one of these agencies on the road mounting a checkpoint. So with all this in place, the big question which the president needs to answer, and if he does not have the answer, then it behoves on him to ask his commanders this question. Why is it possible that despite this deployment of security all over Nigeria, that we can have bandits operate within the sovereignty of Nigeria? Like you rightly said, if these things were happening at the border communities, it could even be understandable that perhaps the bandits are coming in from foreign countries, attacking Nigerians at the border and fleeing back into those foreign countries. Even that, we could chase after them in collaboration with those countries. But what is happening is that states like Plateau State, Benue State, these are states that are in the heart of Nigeria, in the middle of Nigeria. That's why they are called central. You either call them North Central or call them Middle Belt. They are in the middle of Nigeria. So how is it possible that bandits can breach our territorial boundaries and travel hundreds of kilometers into the middle of Nigeria, and the architecture, the security architecture that I have described, doesn't do anything about it? Like the governor of Benue State said in an interview, these people coming on motorbikes, motorcycles that are numbering in hundreds. How can such a movement of hundreds of motorcycles evade the scrutiny of the security architecture we have spread all over the country? By the way, a motorcycle tank, a motorcycle's tank is so small that I can't see how it's going to have enough fuel that will take that motorcycle from outside the borders of Nigeria to the North Central. That motorcycle must have to fuel along the way. So they are fueling their motorcycles, they are buying food, they are getting ammunition, they are getting all of these things, and yet our security say they don't know anything that is happening, because like you rightly pointed out, it behoves on the security to prevent the movement of these people to their target location. They have to prevent them, take them out before they get to any place. But assuming they come in and do what they want to do, then they have already shown their hands that they are murderers. Why do we let them to go away scot-free? You know, so this is a question for Mr. President. He must answer this question. He is responsible to Nigerians to tell Nigerians how possible is it that in many parts of Nigeria today we have these bandits operating as if nothing stops them. And just before I will give way to you, because I believe you might want to make an intervention, one last thing. The National Security Advisor, the man whose job is to advise Mr. President on security matters in Nigeria, he was in the capital of Benue State last week. He stood in the comfort and safety of the government house in Makudi and made a statement that there is no territory in Nigeria that has been taken over by bandits. My question is that, is this the type of advice he's giving to Mr. President? Because the governor of Benue State, if he thought about it, he should have taken Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, the NSA, to the IDP camps that are spread all over Benue. Because An IDP camp exists only because somebody has been displaced from his home, from his farm. And if Mr. Ribadu claims that no territory has been taken over, he should have then led these IDPs by himself back to their farmlands, back to their homes, so that he can see things for himself and go and tell Mr. President that we have resettled these people. So for me, perhaps it's also one of the problems that Mr. President advisors are not giving him the true position of things. But Mr. President does not only need to depend on his advisors. He reads the newspapers. He listens to the news. If he doesn't do that, then that is terrible of him. If you are leading a country like this, you should be listening. You should have time in a day, at least half an hour of your day, to go through the highlights of newspapers and watch television and know what is happening with the people that you are governing. So this situation as we have it today is terrible. Nigerians are losing their lives, and the farms are not producing enough food. There's hunger in the land, and Mr. President needs to do something about this very, very urgently. This situation goes beyond rhetoric. It goes beyond issuing statements from the presidency. It goes to tasking the security architecture to go and wipe off the terrorists and bandits and kidnappers that are taking Nigerians for granted and taking their lives every day.
How do you think that state police can help in this regard? Because so many persons have cited Amotekun, Ibubago, Hizba police in the north, as one of the police architecture organized by state governments that hasn't really worked. The Southwest has an active Amotekun. You could say that Southwest is still under some sort of attack, because the governors came out the other day to say that they are, the forests are not safe, and there have been a few attacks there as well. Do you think state police would work? And if you are convinced it will work, how do you think it will work?
So we are a federal republic. Our name is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the concept of federalism is that the states are semi-autonomous arms of government. And like in the United States, whose constitution we have copied and whose federalism we have also copied, you will discover that the states manage their affairs in a semi-autonomous way. They take care of their internal security, and the states are also the economic centers. They generate money and they send money to the center for the center to run common services. And common services include things like defense, the military, foreign policy, economic policy, issuance of notes, issuance of currency, and things like that. That's what is at the center. The rest of everything is at the state. So if Nigeria calls itself the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then we have to do governance in line with a federalism, in line with a federal structure. Because if you say you are something and you are not behaving as that something, then there's a problem there, right? There's a problem. So the state police matter has been on the table, just like you have said, right from the Obasanjo days through to all the leaders to today. But at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. And it is very important that state police are given the go-ahead Unfortunately, even in the last Council of States that was attended by the governors and the president and his team, state police, which was on the agenda, was not discussed. And that is the second time that this meeting we hold and state police on the agenda will not be discussed. So it looks as if we are giving lip service to this. And I make the point, I always make the point, that policing is local. But the way that policing is organized in Nigeria today, we have one Inspector General of Police who is looking after all the policemen in the country. By so doing, we have placed all our eggs in one basket. Because if that Inspector General is not effective, it means the entire policing system in Nigeria will not be effective. So it is important that the states must be given the go-ahead to arrange their police force. That way, we are going to have 36 Inspector Generals of Police in each state, one per state, and then another one in the federal capital, if the federal capital wants. Otherwise, the federal capital can allow the federal police to provide internal security. But if we have 36 police structures in Nigeria, chances are that at least half, if not more, of those structures will be effective. They will have competent leadership. They will be funded by the states that set them up, and they will be able to recruit more people to police their states, and the combined policing efforts of those 36 police forces is going to provide better security to Nigeria today than we have it. And for me, these are areas where President Tinubu needs to look into. A reform, he says it's a reform government, it's a government of reforms. Reforms must not stop with increasing petrol prices, increasing electricity prices, increasing the price of the dollar. That is not where reforms must stop. Reforms must also go into matters like state police, where President Tinubu needs to show courage and allow state policing to begin. These are the kind of things that he, as governor of Lagos State, was asking for. So how could he have been asking for this when he was a governor, and now he's not asking for them? I mean, he has already taken courageous steps, like sending federal allocation directly to local government autonomy. He's touching on those kind of fundamental issues. He should go ahead also to touch on this policing matter. As for the fears that people express that the governors will misuse the state police, they will use them to even say secession. How is that possible? One state, how can you secede when the federal might will come upon you? That aside, that's not to say that our constitution should not be changed to include a referendum. If people really want to secede from Nigeria and they vote to secede, why not? That is the modern way to do it, but that's an aside. So the factors that people raise in terms of the dangers of having state police, for me, is scaremongering. And we heard this thing when they debate as to whether to allow private sector to also have broadcasting. For the benefit of our viewers who were not old enough to know, there was a time in Nigeria that Signaturetv that we are on now will not have been possible, because the entirety of the media, whether print or electronic, was in the hands of government, were government owned. So there was a debate to liberalize the sector so that private people can also have radio stations, can also have TV stations. And a lot of people used to make this comment that, oh, if you allow the private sector to have radio stations and television stations, that people will seize those stations and announce a coup. And I would say that since the 90s, when this liberalization has happened to date, which private radio or television station has been used to to execute a coup in Nigeria? Answer is none. So some of these fears are basically scaremongering, or they are fears expressed by people who are probably benefiting from the current situation and they don't want a change. So I would say that the president needs to go out and make sure that this state policing thing works. And then there will be checks and balances that even if you're a state police and you commit a crime, then the law will take its natural course upon you. That is where the checks and balances will come in. So we just have to go ahead with this state police because, like you mentioned, Amotekun and the other regional security outfits that are being promoted by states is not the equivalent of a state police because they are not as armed. They are not allowed to be armed with automatic weapons, which will be the kind of firepower you need to confront the bandits that have taken over parts of Nigeria. So state police has to go ahead.
We've seen how over time governors have even abdicated their own responsibility. I mean, they just say they are not responsible, basically asking people to defend themselves. And even in that same breath, refuse to provide what people would use to defend themselves. In the scale of things today, when a governor comes to a community to say, defend yourself, do you think that it's something to listen to? Should the people go ahead with that, with what the governor has said, even though we understand that it's in the Constitution? But then again, when a governor says that, he should be looking at bringing or providing what the people can use to defend themselves, isn't it?
Any governor or any person in Nigeria who says the citizens should go and defend themselves is calling for anarchy. Actually, if you're a governor and you ask your citizens to go and defend themselves, then your role as a governor is no longer tenable. Just leave, vacate your office of governor and become a citizen. Join the citizens and let you guys just defend yourself, because the reason why you're a governor is to provide security and welfare to the people that you are governing. That is what the Constitution mandates you to do. So if the Constitution mandates you to provide security to the people, and you have abdicated on that responsibility, but instead have asked the people to go ahead and provide security for themselves, then why are you still in office? That means your role in the office that does no longer hold. So this is just the truth. But to be honest, it's good that we are focusing on the governors. But if we look at the current security architecture in Nigeria, there is no governor in Nigeria that commands any armed security. Sorry. There is no governor in Nigeria today that commands any armed security outfit. Absolutely none. The law does not provide that. So, in as much as it is said that the governors are the chief security officers of their states, you will just discover that that appellation that is put upon them is more ceremonial than being effective, because you cannot be the chief security officer of your state when the commanders of the security forces in that state, deployed in that state, don't take orders from you, right? So if you go to a state today and you have the armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and then you have the police, the civil defense, custom, immigration, all of that, and the intelligence agencies deployed in that state. None of the commanders of those deployments will take an order from the governor. So the governor's duty is basically to work with this security architecture and support them in any way that he can support them. But the fact that they don't report to him, the fact that if he tells them move and they cannot move unless they get orders from Abuja, makes that arrangement to be very, very unstable. That's an arrangement that is totally ineffective. It can't make things happen. And so that further enhances the conversation that we're having, that state policing must be given the go-ahead so that the governor will have his state security. in place. Because instead of having one Nigerian police, we're now going to have 36 Nigerian police all over Nigeria being funded by the governors. And they are going to recruit more people, you know. And you know, the other thing is that the current security architecture we have now at the federal level, about 50% of the security architecture, from the armed forces to the police to the paramilitary, they attach their men to individuals. Sometimes individuals of dubious character. You find them giving personal protection to these people. Just come out on any road in Nigeria, you are going to see our security in their uniform, with their arms, providing personal security cover for an individual in their vehicle, at their homes. You know, there was a video that came out recently where some Chinese nationals were sharing money to our armed security. And the thing went viral, and Nigerians were speaking about it. And I say, where have you guys been? This is what is happening all over Nigeria, even in that location where you are, that you are making it look as if this is something new. That individuals have hired our security, who, as we speak, are at their homes or at their offices, or they are accompanying them on a trip. And those security are not available to provide security for the generality of Nigerians. So these are some of the issues. And you hear the president or the commanders make statements like, oh, we are withdrawing Nigerian police from individuals, we are withdrawing military from individuals. But that is not happening, right? It's not happening. So as we speak today, these things are happening. And it's all about who has money. There are drug pushers. There are Yahoo boys. There are all sorts of 419 characters who give money to the security, and the security are protecting them, right? So you can see that there's a lot that needs to be done security-wise. And until we deal with this, we can as well just forget about economic development, because who is going to bring their money and economy where this kind of insecurity pervades the land? And then for the lives of Nigerians that are being lost, this is really terrible. It needs urgent action.
Some persons have also stated that we're not ripe for state police as a nation. I mean, we've even seen the IG of police, the current IG of police, Ebotoku, say something in that regard, that the governors would misuse the opportunity that they have, and that it would most likely, make the president lose certain powers in that regard. How true is this statement, and why do you think someone like in the stead of the Inspector General of Police doesn't see the need for a state police?
Inspector General of Police, I believe, is protecting his personal territory instead of protecting the interests of Nigerians. Because the powers that he's talking about, he knows that those powers are the powers of the Inspector General, who today presides over policing in the 36 states in Nigeria and the FCT. And if the states now have their police, he believes that his powers will be eroded, because he will now have to more or less compete with state police formations as well. So he is coming from a very selfish perspective, because the people who are governors, they were elected by their people to be governors. And they took an oath of office to be governors in their states. And this oath of office included their swearing on the holy book to abide by the Constitution of Nigeria. What should have interested the Inspector General of Police is to say that we will be ensuring that state police formations are running their affairs in line with the Constitution. And those that are not, they will be held to account. Nobody should be above the law in a democracy like the one we practice. Nobody should be above the law. So the fact that you are a state police inspector general, it does not mean that you can go ahead and deal with Nigerian citizens in a way that breaks the law. Nobody has that. One thing that the Inspector General, which I believe he knows, is that even in countries where policing has been devolved to the local authorities. Like in the UK here we are speaking, we have here in London the Metropolitan Police. And if you keep going, you are going to get Manchester Police, you are going to get all of these kind of police forces. In the United States, you have state police, you have county police, sometimes you have city police, like the city of Houston police, Dallas police, things like that. And you even have university campuses, they have their police. Even transportation systems like the railway, they have their rail police and things like that. In all of these places where policing has been devolved to such local levels, you still have the federal police. You still have the federal police. So, like in the United Kingdom, you have Scotland Yard. You have in America. You also have the FBI and all of that. You have policing that is still federal. So the Inspector General of Police should not fear for his job. The architecture will be such that even as the states have their own police formations, there will still be a federal police upon which he will be presiding. And it's unfortunate that in the position that he is and the knowledge that he has and the global travel that he has made and been to countries where this thing is working effectively, all he can do now is to scaremonger and to advise the president not to go ahead with the state policing because the powers of the president will be eroded. The president's powers are as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He didn't say he's also commander-in-chief of the police. So that alone should have told the Inspector General that it's an anomaly because the president is actually officially called or titled the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He didn't say police. So this advice that he's giving the president is wrong. And I expect that the president should be wiser. The president should ride above the advice and go ahead and ensure that we have state police. It will be a big gift that he will give to the Nigerian Federation if he makes it to happen.
How much of satellite technology you think is important? I mean, we've seen other climes claim that more than 50% of their operation is practically intelligence-based. I mean, a situation where they stay in their environment and press a button or two, and they're able to pick out certain areas that are red zones, and they find a way to attack as at when due. How important do you think technology and intelligence gathering is in policing a country like Nigeria?
So these are the matters that need to be addressed. Policing in the modern world is a complete package. It's not just about putting boots on the ground. Policing has also gone digital. There has to be a lot of technology that needs to be put in. Like here in the UK, where I'm speaking to you from, you cannot go about here for more than 500 meters, sometimes even less than 100 meters if you are in the city of London, that a security camera, will not capture your movement, you know. So first, that camera acts as a deterrent to people because they know that they are being watched. So the kind of things they will ordinarily do, if they know they are not being watched, they won't do it. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that even if anything happens, the cameras are the ones that will also give detailed information or detailed data about the movement of the people who committed the crime, and sometimes their vehicle registration. Then sometimes you see they capture their faces and they put them out and ask the community to look out for people like this. So those are the kind of things that happen, you know. And also, you find out that, like here in the UK, the police don't mount checkpoints the way you have it in Nigeria. Instead, the police install what they call automatic number plate recognition technology in their cars. And as the police car is patrolling, it's picking up the plate numbers of all the vehicles that are, you know, that the car comes in contact with. And if there is an issue with a particular plate number, that vehicle is going to flag a message, and the policeman will then take necessary action, either to stop the vehicle, or if he fails to stop, they chase after the vehicle. So these are all of the kind of technology that is being used. Today we have drone technology where you fly drones, and the drones are able to survey an area, pick up areas that will feed back data which can be worked upon. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, you discover that our cities don't have cameras. Like in Abuja, they started the project to install security cameras in Abuja. You still see the poles, and sometimes even the cameras on the poles, but that project has been moribund, and nobody talks about it. You see, you can only provide security if you build the system to police the environment, which includes such things like the cameras. So those are the kind of areas that should interest Mr. President to say that why don't we have this camera technology working in a city like Abuja and other states? And this is where governors also need to come in, because you can install these things around your state, especially in places that have a high risk or having this insecurity. Now, I was talking about automatic number plate recognition technology. You find out that here in the UK, everybody's vehicle has a plate number. The Prime Minister's vehicles have, in fact, the Prime Minister's vehicle does not even have an official number. The Prime Minister's vehicle is registered just like any private vehicle. It carries the same plate number like my car or any other car out there. The King's vehicles have plate numbers, and the police technology is able to read those plate numbers to know whether those vehicles are needed for anything. In Nigeria, you have vehicles that have no plate numbers, and they are plying our roads. Yeah, and most often these vehicles are not even official. It is individual. Sometimes Yahoo boys or kidnappers or 419 or even bandits. They just take a Hilux van, they remove the plate number, they put reflective light on top of that Hilux van, and they are moving about Nigeria. And the so-called checkpoints that even have, when they see them, they will just assume that they're a convoy, and they just give them free passage. And these guys go all over Nigeria, whatever they want to do. So there are basics that you need to have. The other time I was speaking about the 999 technology like we have here in the UK. Even though in Nigeria you have the 112 system, which is not effective, you need to have an effective emergency response system with a command and control center in place, so that the GSM companies will link their network to this emergency system. And it only takes the citizen dialing a 3-digit number, and they get across to the control center, and the control center, we ask them what the issue is. Is it a security issue? Is it fire? Or is an ambulance you need? And then they are able to send rescue, send help of whatever nature it is the citizens are calling to that particular location, and matters are dealt with. By simply doing something like that, you have made the 200 million Nigerians to also become security men, because they are watching over their areas, and if they notice anything, then they alert the appropriate agencies to come to rescue. I mean, if criminals know that if I start anything here, the citizens will call for security, and the security will be here in no time, it is a big deterrent for them to go ahead and try to perpetrate anything. So these are things like, and of course, this 999 system, as I say, works with satellite technology, such that if there is no GSM number, it will pick the call and all of that. So even if the phone doesn't have battery, there's an internal battery in the phone, in every phone, that the 999 system will work with. You know, so these are the kind of things that the Nigerian government has to put in place. There are basic infrastructure, including technology, that must be installed for you to have effective policing. So far, we have not even started in those areas.
Do you think there's an international dimension to this insecurity that we have in this country? Every now and then we keep hearing that these security situations are not internal. They are mostly from the fringes, from outside. And so many persons point towards the death of Gaddafi, and then the proliferation of light weapons across borders. and so many other things. Do you think there's this international dimension to it? And what is specifically the motive of this international influence on insecurity in Nigeria?
So there's definitely an international dimension to it, because the Sahel region experienced a lot of crisis. And right from Libya, it started with the Arab Spring when some of the North African nations, had protests that led to toppling of government. And then in Libya, Gaddafi was toppled and they've been at war. And then in Afghanistan, then in South Sudan, Eritrea, and all of that, there has been wars in countries like that. And these people have moved from those war torn areas, and they have come through to Niger, through parts of Cameroon, through Chad, and they have come into Nigeria, and they are operating in Nigeria. And that is why Nigeria set up a multinational joint task force in the Lake Chad area to deal with the international dimension to this crisis. But for me, I don't think that our security architecture should be bothered about where these people come from. Anybody who takes arms against Nigerians, whether he came in from somewhere else or he's a Nigerian and of what religion or from what ethnicity or from what state, should not matter. A gunman takes arms against Nigeria, there are only two options that should be given to that gunman: for the gunman to surrender and to be arrested, or to be fixed an appointment with God. It doesn't matter who the gunman is, whoever, wherever they come from. So for me, it becomes very distracting when the conversation moves from tackling the gunmen who are terrorizing Nigerians to analyzing where they come from, who they are, which ethnicity they are. For me, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. For the Nigerian security architecture, it should be about a gunman. Once they see a gunman, they tackle the gunman, and they don't allow the gunman to terrorize Nigerians. So he's either arrested or he's killed, taken out. And thereafter, we can run an inquest into who he is, investigate. Does he have internal collaborators? Who gave him arms? How did he come to the point that he traveled all the way undetected to the point where he perpetrated this crime or committed the crime? Those should be post-mortem examination after the gunman has been dealt with. So I think the conversation should move away from trying to analyze who these people are. The conversation should be that the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, led by their Commander-in-Chief, should explain to Nigerians why gunmen are terrorizing Nigerians in the middle of Nigeria without they doing something about it. That's the most important thing. And for us, if my brother takes arms against me, I expect the state to protect me. And the state can protect me by either forcing him to surrender or killing him. Even if he's my brother, my sibling, same father, same mother with me, it shouldn't matter to say, oh, it is his brother, so leave him to deal. No, that's not the way security is done elsewhere.
Right. Do you think corruption within the security apparatus of Nigeria has a role to play in the way and manner that we go about fighting security or insecurity in our nation?
Corruption is happening big time. And I am not saying this of my own accord. I'm saying it based on empirical evidence. The last government that opened the can of worms in the security architecture in Nigeria was the Buhari regime. At the advent of the Buhari regime, they investigated the military and other security agencies in Nigeria, and we were all witnesses to the kind of dirty data that was revealed, totally dirty. Arms, contracts for arms were paid for, no arms received. The wrong types of arms were made. People were just taking millions and billions of monies meant for security. And unfortunately, when President Tinubu granted a media interview, they asked him if he was going to follow in the footsteps of his predecessor, which is the government of President Buhari, and check out the security agencies, including the military, in terms of making sure that they are applying the budget that they are given for the right purposes. And unfortunately, the president just said it would be disrespectful of the military institution if he goes to check out their books, which to me was something very scary for a commander-in-chief to say. You are a commander-in-chief, you are in charge of the armed forces, they are reporting to you. You are also mandated by the Constitution to defend the Constitution. And what I would have expected the president to have said in that media chat would have been that if there are allegations or any prima facie evidence of corruption in the security architecture, including the military, that the law is going to take its due course. That is what he should have said. That's the minimum that was expected of him to have said. But for him to now say he was not investigating the military, because if he does that, it disrespects the institution. He basically gave a blank check to the military that you guys can go ahead and do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to come after you. So there's no doubt about the fact that corruption is happening. Even the area scenario that are painted, where private individuals who have no official functions are given security cover by our military, by our police, by our paramilitary, who have been recruited, trained, and armed by the resources of the people, are attached to individuals for personal security duties. In itself is corruption. That is also corruption. So all sorts of people are being attached. Religious leaders, you see some pastors now, they carry their security. Everybody carries their security. Some are being paid by corporate entities. You go to every major office in Nigeria, and they have this security, our security men, at their premises, who are providing security only for that premises. They are not available to provide security for anybody else. That also is corruption. The fact that commanders can take money from people, some of them with dodgy characters, and provide them security, who will now be at their homes, at their offices, and accompanying them about without being available to the rest of Nigerians. It's also corruption. So yes, there's corruption, and the president has to deal with it.
When you hear the president respond to questions in that manner, and saying that it will be disrespectful to look at the books of the military, then you wonder where we're headed, really. I mean, what role really do you think the president has in making sure he stems the tide of corruption? Because with that response, it does mean that apart from the military, every other security apparatus would not be checked, and so corruption just continues. And the way and manner the system is built, just like you have mentioned, is basically, if the corruption is not tackled within, then you are rest assured that it will surely play out in the field. But how important do you think that the president must, in many ways than one, check what the security agencies are doing with a view to at least tackling corruption within the system, so that we can have a better outlook when the men go out to to the front to really fight?
Yeah, so the duty of the president is clear-cut. The Constitution provides him his tasks and targets, as we used to call it in the private sector. What he is expected to do is in the Constitution and the other laws that support the Constitution in Nigeria. So the idea is for him to go ahead and to implement these laws the way they have been stated. Nigeria's problem, like I always say, is lack of law enforcement. We can talk about every other thing, but all that we're talking about, including the state of insecurity, which we're analyzing now, they are not really the issues. These are symptoms of a broken system. And the system that is broken is the law enforcement system. If you enforce the law in Nigeria, all other things will be sorted out. Even this insecurity will be sorted out. So Mr. President's singular agenda is to enforce the law. Look, when he took office, he put his hand on the holy book and said he's going to defend the Constitution of Nigeria. What does defense of the Constitution mean? It means if the Constitution says do A, you have to do A. If you don't do A and go and do B, Mr. President will come upon you with the full powers that have been granted him. That is how you defend the Constitution. Because once the Constitution says something, you expect people to do according to the Constitution. And if they don't do according to the Constitution, it is your role as a president to put them in check. But you see what? For Mr. President to do that, he has to put himself and his friends, party leaders, and his cronies, whoever, he has to put them in check. The question is, does he have that mindset that he can police himself, that he can apply the provisions of the Constitution on himself, his family, his friends, and his colleagues? If he does not have that mindset, then he's not going to do it. But if he has the mindset, then he will do it, because if you put side by side the Constitution and his party supporter, who does he want to go with? If he's a man who has nationalistic mindset, he will go with the Constitution, even as his party supporter is on the other side. But if he has a little mind, he will go with his party supporter against the Constitution. So that is the whole thing. If Mr. President enforces the Constitution, I tell you that all of the other things that we are busy talking about in Nigeria, such as insecurity, such as poor infrastructure, such as lack of food production, such as lack of power supply, no railways, decayed infrastructure, inflation, unemployment, high exchange rate, all of them will solve. They are symptoms of a disease. And the disease is that we are not enforcing the law in Nigeria. Whether this president is the one who can enforce the law in Nigeria, he has to prove it to us. For so long, he hasn't proven to us that he can enforce the law. And I think for that, it's a terrible situation for us to be in.
Nick Agule, many thanks for your time. We truly appreciate your insights on the situation, especially as it concerns effectiveness of internal security in the country. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, and good morning to our viewers.
All right, we are headed to the Northwest, and this time, of course, to speak to a guest who spoke to us earlier about the Northwest security, because today we're going to be speaking largely about security. We'll also touch on the Northeast security and what exactly is fueling the insecurity in these part of the country. We're back after that. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signaturetv, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signaturetv. News in your pocket.
June's signature evening. And I'm not going to do this alone. My co-anchor is already seated. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Ngozi. My name is Quincy Roland, and this is Signature Evening. We welcome you on to today's edition of Signature Evening. And of course, just before we go on the next break, don't forget to follow on all the social media platforms. And when we go on this break, we'll bring you Signature Business. So stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The ENUGU state government has signed a landmark Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with Lion Business Park Limited to establish a world-class industrial and commercial hub within the ENUGU Industrial Park Free Trade Zone, a strategic step aimed at boosting the state's GDP from $4.4 billion to $30 billion. Governor Peter Mbah, speaking at a brief event on Tuesday at the Government House in ENUGU, announced that the project would leverage the incentives of operating within a free trade zone to attract foreign direct investments. He added that the initiative would promote human capital development, stimulate innovation and technological advancement, and create employment opportunities, contributing to shared economic prosperity for Enugu State, the Southeast region, and Nigeria as a whole. And standing by right here in the studio to have a conversation on the subject matter, highlighting the benefits of Enugu State Industrial Park, is Enugu State's Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Urban Development, Barrister Chimobi Patrick Ukori. Legal, nice to have you.
Thank you very much, Ngozi.
Good evening, sir.
Hi,
And I don't know if congratulations is in order that Enugu State has signed a deal to make happen Enugu State Industrial Park. And if that be the case, what is it all about? We know about amusement parks and the lots. Why industrial? What's that about to start with?
Thank you so much, Ngozi, and good evening, viewers. The concept of the industrial park, is the icing on the cake, if you like, in the journey set forth by His Excellency, Dr. Peter Mbah, the Governor of Enugu State, to move the economy of Enugu State from the baseline of $4.4 billion US dollars, which he met it, to a $30 billion economy. Of course, the twin to that is to make Enugu the destination of choice for investments and for living. So that will then explain why the industrial park. The industrial park is an all-in-one shop that is designed with the world-class benefits of a free trade zone, of an international customs area. And of course, it would interest you to know that it also has provision for residences. What it means is that as a free trade zone, like we know it globally, it means that businesses there are immune from taxes and other duties. They are duty free. So that already gives investors the advantage. Typically, like when you are at international airports and you say you're shopping at duty-free areas, it means you're not going to pay duty on those goods. Then again, when we talk of the fact that it's an international custom area, it means that it is actually a destination for shipment. So for our investors, for potential investors within the Southeast and beyond, it means that you can actually ship your container, for instance, from Asia, from Europe, from America, from wherever, and your destination would be
Lion Business Park. And nobody's going to open it until it lands there. It's going to be opened there. So technically, it's like a dry port. What it means is that that is a custom area. So you're not going to have to open your container, for instance, at any other distant place and then begin to ship your goods. It means that's where you ship your goods. You know, and then the other advantage, of course, is what His Excellency Dr. Peter Ndwisimba already, you know, I don't know, I'm sure you followed his conversation at the Commonwealth Summit in the UK, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, where he adumbrated the need to actualize the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So that again tells you that we are keen into this as you know, an invitation to the world to behold Enugu. That Enugu is set for investment. This park sits on 2,000 hectares of tableland.
And I'm going to utilize this opportunity to ask you, where would it be located in Enugu?
It is located. It is not would be located.
Okay.
It's in existence already, as a matter of fact. It is at a location that is just about 15, 20, 30 minutes drive from the international airport.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have to believe that it is within the metropolis.
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to wonder how the hectares of land you just mentioned, where we can have that without displacing people.
Like I said, it's already in existence. It's a built up. It's already, the infrastructure is already there. Even though His Excellency, the governor, has already committed to even more robust infrastructure build out within the area. I have visited that personally, and I invite, you know, interested investors to visit. Some of the infrastructure is already ongoing. Some investors are already building out. There's already subscription going on there.
That's interesting.
Absolutely. So it is just after 9 Mile, which is in itself a business hub. So it is strategically located at a place that His Excellency, the governor, has already declared as the industrial hub of the state. So it's an industrial corridor that we have that is also probably about 30 minutes to Onitsha.
Okay.
That way, it's probably about, like I said, 20 minutes to the international airport. And it's probably about, you know, 3 hours to the Onitsha seaport. So it's a vantage location that we believe, you know, also enhances, you know, its attractiveness to investors. In addition to all these other issues I've mentioned about the free trade, about the international customs destination, and of course, our commitment to ease of doing business in Enugu State.
Okay, you had mentioned that there's a space for living, if I'm correct, where people could actually stay. What other infrastructural development has been put in place to support these particular operations concerning the park?
In addition to the ones mentioned already, His Excellency has directed that we immediately begin to scope roads,
leading
additional
to the
roads,
place.
yes, and the internal roads as well. He has also instructed that we begin to enhance the power supply in the location so that it can be optimized. There is power there, there are infrastructure, but we need to do more. You know that His Excellency is committed to excellence. So when he says all roads should be paved, he means all roads.
Will be paved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm wondering why the partnership with Lion Business Park? Why the choice of that particular enterprise to organization with Enugu State? Is there a particular reason the Enugu State is partnering with them?
Yes, because it keys into the agenda of the state government. It keys into the vision of His Excellency, the governor. So when he's already talking of making Enugu the destination of choice, and he identifies potentials in this kind of park, business park, it's actually 1 in 1,000, if I may say. I think for now it is about the only free trade zone in the southeastern Nigeria. So it is something that a responsible government like we have currently in ENUGU would easily be happy to partner with and enhance for the benefit of the ENUGU and beyond.
All right, let's look at the scale gap. Right now, we are looking into the benefits of this park, and we're taking them one after the other. I know that you mentioned some, but we'll also look at some that you did not mention. Will this in some way address the skill gap? I mean, if some things require special skills and they are to, to be here in the industrial park, which is located in Enugu State, will that address the skill gap among the workforce, Nigerian workforce?
Precisely, yeah, because if you look at the way it is structured, it's an international destination. So what it means is that it's nothing less than best practice. Now, recall that once you declare an area of a free trade area, free of duties, what it means is that naturally you are attracting the best. And a typical investor would rather not pay more. Yes. So it already tells him that you can come here and you're free of duties. It also means that for the buyers, for the customers, they are also sure that they may just get it, a naira or two less than the typical market price. But when you knock off duty, the ultimate benefit is to the consumers. Now, that also goes into the skill area that you mentioned. Because what it means is that they are better able to actually engage the best hands. Because it is recognized as an international location, it means that you are able to easily work out issues of expatriate quotas and, international staff. It means that your best hands are able to be there. It means that these international brands and international organizations are able to come in there and build offices, build factories, build malls, and operate there. So it also means that the typical brands, in the various areas, be it brands in terms of fabrics, be it designers, be it brands in terms of technology, ICT tools and equipment, are able to come in there and set up businesses.
Now, with what you're saying is going to address local employment, it's going to facilitate economic growth. I think that's the intention. But are there specific sectors that this will address? For instance, we understand the textile stuff going on in Abia State, and even the shoemaking. This particular hub, is it going to be jack of all trades?
Like I said, it is really a one-stop shop. So
for virtually everything.
Absolutely. When you want to visualize 2,000 hectares of land, it's really like
that was why I screamed and was wondering where it would have been located.
Okay, we have that amount of that kind of space for the Enugu State Industrial Park. The economic impact of it, not economic, but environmental impact, where you have so many processes going on there, productions and the rest of it. And how do you now control the environmental impact it has to the people living around there, basically?
Thank you. Yeah, so firstly, I'm happy to report that we're working in close synergy with our Ministry of Environment. As a matter of fact, we have both visited the location for unannounced visits and assessment of the location. And this is what we intend to continue, because those are the clear directions and the instructions of His Excellency, the Governor. We are not compromising on environmental standards. We make sure that for every activity, the EIA, the impact assessment, is conducted from start to finish, be it the production process, be it your waste management, be it the gas flaring, be it effluent. We make sure that all of that happens. thankfully, the way His Excellency has also instructed that the relationship be structured, the host communities have been carried along, even from the point of acquisition of this land. That is probably why you see that everybody was there at the signing of the MOU. The three critical host communities that support this park were there. I saw the...
Okay, probably whose property cut across...
that expanse of land. So they are involved. And of course, part of the assurance they have is that there will be no adverse environmental impact to the land or to the environment over there. It's a process that we intend to continue monitoring. So it's not that we have done it and then we leave it. No, there is still going to be continued collaboration with the state's Ministry of the Environment, the lands, of course, and trade and investments. So we are committed to the instructions and directives of His Excellency in this regard.
Okay. Honorable Commissioner, I know you are answering for everyone who is involved, all the ministries who is involved, but for clarity, I know you also mentioned the Ministry of Environment. In fact, you were extensive with much the ministry is going to do. And you also did not tell us anything about the commissioner, that's the ministry rather, of commerce, who I would want to, which ministry I would believe is handling the economic part of it, the trade. And apart from those two, and you who will have to make sure that there is a location, okay, I think that's where you come in. I don't know if there are other ministries involved in the business park, in the industrial park.
You know, the structure and the organization of governance by His Excellency is actually interwoven. Nobody operates in silos. So I mentioned trade and investment because they are definitely involved. Nobody can actually start and finish any process in silo. So you find out that, for instance, in doing the infrastructure, it's going to probably involve the Ministry of Works. Yeah. In doing the environmental impact, it's going to involve the Ministry of Environment, and then trade and investment. And then, who knows? By the time we get to a point and we think that there should be probably a school there, then of course education will
there's
come.
Going to be a residential area.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Quickly.
This is a very big park. How is it going to impact the development of small business scales?
Okay, thanks, Winsley. The structure makes room for big, medium, and small. So you find out that there will also be malls, there will also be shop outlets. Yes, so everybody plays at his level.
And the big fish won't get to swallow the
absolutely not.
fish.
Absolutely not. So everybody, if an investor thinks all he wants is a shop to sell finished products, well and good, he takes in a shop. The other beauty of it is that the business plan is structured to make sure that a potential investor just makes an initial deposit and is at liberty to now build and start business, while the rest of the payment is structured over years. So you find out that capital is not tied up. Whether a shop, whether a mall, whether a hotel, whether a warehouse, whatever approach to business an investor has, there is soft landing, there is support, there is state support, of course. And we're happy to partner with the Lion Business Park because we have also seen serious commitment by the private partner. So we are very sure that it's going to be a win-win for everybody.
Okay. The governor of ENUGU State, Dr. Peter Mba, is always thinking smart. We know about the smart schools, the smart type 2 healthcare centers, and at some point, smart city was mentioned. So is this going to also leverage on technology? Are we expecting a smart industrial park as well?
Definitely.
How,
Definitely.
how smart?
It can't be world class today, if it's not smart. The world is already gone far in technology that you can't have your typical trade, you know, in the local version we had it. In fact, I would have added to the basket, you know, smart farming, you know, which we're also doing. You know, even in the land administration, we have introduced a lot of technology in the GIS technology and all of that. So that is definitely coming into the business park. So you're going to find out that in terms of security, for instance, what His Excellency has done is going to also reflect in what happens at the business park. Recall that we have the Command and Control Center, which is able to view ENUGU real time. So it means investors are safe. It means you can drop, you know, your pin in front of your shop and you're sure to be there. You know, because I could in this context say that Dr. Peter Mbai is watching, because if you have, you know, looked at the Command and Control Center, you find out that it's really possible to see every square meter in ENUGU right in there. So there will be definitely the benefits of smart technology in these shops. We're going to also go green in terms of power supply, which also impacts on the environmental question. So by the time we go green, find out that things like solar are going to be more attractive for power generation and power supply there.
We know that this is about building the economy of Enugu State from 4.4 to about 30 billion. And now, we have an exportation problem in Nigeria now, with the tariffs and the rest of it. How is this industrial park going to benefit, you know, export-oriented manufacturing?
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation, which was what I referenced when I mentioned His Excellency's remarks about the AFTA, like we call it, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Recall that this was an agreement signed by essentially all the African states, you know, declaring the biggest free trade area in the world as at today. And His Excellency Dr. Peter Mbai called on the world to support the actualization of the terms and the spirit and the letters of that agreement. What it means, in essence, therefore, is that the market is there. By the time you are able to collapse customs issues, immigration issues, just within Africa, you will find out that we can trade here. The market is in Africa. So yes, we can still even take it beyond Africa, but there is a huge, huge market in Africa that if we're able to trade within ourselves, if we're able to, you know, take our goods to the rest of the Western Africa, you know, to Central, to North Africa, South Africa, you find out that you may not even be able to meet the demands of your customers.
So what's the expected timeline for the completion and full operation of the industrial park?
The industrial park is, I would say, ready for business. So what we're doing now is calling on investors to take advantage, because we expect that in the next 12 months, you might be a secondary buyer.
Oh.
Yes. In the next 12 months, you might be looking at buying from, you know, an existing buyer. So it is something that we are saying, hurry up. Or you might end up just being a tenant, you know, on a spot that you would have probably been the owner. So we are happy and proud to tell the ENUGU that, and even the entire world, that the Lion Business Park is ready for business. I'm happy to take, you know, investors and potential investors on a guided tour of the facilities at any time.
Now, still on that, I would like to find out what the criteria will be. What are the requirements? Who should go for it? Who should actually think in that direction? And how can they go about it?
The operations of the park are, of course, driven by the Lion Business Park, which is already an incorporated entity. The state is a partner who, of course, is there to provide the support, the assurance, and of course the infrastructure for the business to run. So in that context, everybody can be seen as an investor. So for whatever business, be it service, be it production, be it manufacturing, and like I just added, be it residentials, we encourage such operators, such investors to come in. Recall that means even as a developer, you can take up the residential area and decide to build based on the plan. It of course means you could build to sell, or build to lease, or build to rent. So there is really room for every player.
In terms of security, what are the laid out plans for it? People are going to be living in this park, and you know how rough, in quotes, areas like this can get. What are the laid down plans for security?
I think the days of rough areas are gone as far as ENUGU is concerned today. Recall that on assumption of office, one of the first actions His Excellency the Governor Dr. Mba took was declaring an end to the so-called Monday sit at home at the time. And today is Monday. We hardly remember. Flashback 2 years before now, we wouldn't have been here today. So that has also reflected in our security architecture generally. So what it means today is that there's 100% assurance that the state is safe. We have, like I said, we have also deployed technology to ensure that there is 24-hour monitoring of the facility. The ground troops are there, the DRS team are there to monitor what happens there. And that tells you that, I'm sure you know that even the DRS team are working with vehicles and equipment that are AI enabled, that are able to actually, mirror what is happening at the command and control center. So security is guaranteed in this location.
Okay. You're the commissioner for land, and land is one important piece of this whole issue. You think there will be further need for expansion of the park? I know you have mind-blowing hectares of land there, but do you foresee expansion?
The drive, the instruction and the mandate of His Excellency are clear that we anticipate expansion or spill, soon. And what His Excellency has done is to also create an industrial corridor, a 20,000 hectares industrial corridor that runs on the highway all the way through Eziagu, Udi into Oji River. So for any spill in the future, there is already an industrial corridor, which is of course the highway taking you to Onitsha, to Asaba, to the mid. So that also creates those arteries, those linkages that would enhance the business of investors. So there is the expectation of a spill, expansion. And there is of course already preparation for that.
All right, before we let you go, Honorable Commissioner, can you let us in on some of the latest development in urban development in ENUGU State? That is also part of your assignment.
Thank you very much, Ngozi. I guess that's actually the primary assignment. And of course, I'm happy to report that today in ENUGU, His Excellency, the Governor, has declared about 9 of the 17 local governments as urban areas.
You mind naming them?
Wow. Okay. So I will take it from even the capital territory like we know it. Of course, that's ENUGU South, ENUGU North, and ENUGU East local governments. Then His Excellency has declared Udi, Nkano West, Nkano East, Nsukka as full urban areas, as well as Oji River local government.
And you see that as achievable? turning these other areas other than the metropolis,
Yes.
east, Enugu south, east, and north,
Yes.
turning the rest
Yes.
to look like Enugu metropolis.
Absolutely,
it's
not
achievable.
just achievable. We're already pushing with the basics. The infrastructure build out is already going on in these locations. I mean, like today, I have had to visit some locations, you know, at Udi, at Nkano East, and then last week I was at Oji River at the Economic Summit, and you find out that there is so much excitement at this declaration, and you find out that both the Enugu and investors coming out from outside Enugu are excited at the implications. Because what we see now is that His Excellency is better able to drive development in these locations. What he doesn't want is where parts of Enugu are springing up as slums, because that's the danger when you allow a place to develop without plan. But having declared them urban, it gives us the responsibility to plan these locations and to guide their development. If we anticipate that there should be a dual carriage, for instance, cutting from one end of that, let's say Oji River through Udi, through Nkano West, we plan it. We don't wait for that time when you have to now go and start maybe taking out houses already built up and all that. If there are locations that are going to be designated for industrial purposes, like what we have just done at Eziago with the industrial park, we'll do it. We'll plan it. If we need to do acquisitions, you know, do compensations to those that their lands are affected, we take care of all that. We don't wait until it looks almost like a tall order. When you see a built-up area, that could be quite difficult. So in his typical visionary approach to leadership, His Excellency